The year was 1922, a time when the world was still reeling from the aftermath of the Great War, and the scars of conflict were etched deeply into the landscape and the hearts of the people. In the quiet corners of Bavaria, life moved at a slower pace, untouched by the rapid industrialization that was sweeping through the cities. The place, a small farmstead 6 miles outside the Bavarian town of Ingolstadt. Hinterkaifeck, they called it. It was a name that would soon be whispered with fear and sorrow, a name that would become synonymous with one of the most chilling mysteries in German history. A place of hard work, simple living, and soon, unspeakable horror. The Gruber family, who lived there, were known for their diligence and resilience, traits that were necessary to survive the harsh realities of rural life in the 1920s. But beneath the surface of their daily toil, something dark was brewing. The farm, a cluster of aging buildings, stood alone. Its weathered walls and creaking floors held the secrets of generations, but none as dark as what was to come. The isolation of the farm was both a shield and a curse, keeping the family safe from the outside world, but also trapping them in their own private nightmare. Fields stretched out from its edges, silent and vast. These fields, once a source of sustenance and pride, would soon become silent witnesses to an unimaginable crime. The vastness of the land around the farm added to the sense of isolation, making it a world unto itself, cut off from the rest of humanity. A dirt road, the only path in or out, snaked away towards the distant town. This road, often traveled by the family for supplies and social visits, would soon become a path of dread as the events at Hinterkaifeck unfolded. It was a lifeline to the outside world, but also a reminder of how far removed the farm was from help. The nearest neighbors, the Gabriels, lived half a mile away. In rural Bavaria, this distance was both a blessing and a curse. It provided privacy, but also meant that help was not readily available. The Gabriels, like many rural families, were accustomed to self-reliance, but this distance would prove fatal in the days to come. Their contact with the Gruber family was infrequent. In those days, rural families often kept to themselves, their lives dictated by the rhythms of the seasons and the demands of their land. Social visits were rare, and news traveled slowly, if at all. This isolation would soon become a cloak for the horrors that were about to unfold. Visits were rare, conversations even rarer. The Grubers and their neighbors lived parallel lives, intersecting only occasionally. This lack of communication meant that when the unthinkable happened, it took days for anyone to realize that something was terribly wrong at Hinterkaifeck. Isolation hung over Hinterkaifeck like a shroud. It was a heavy, oppressive presence that seemed to seep into the very soil of the farm. This isolation, while providing a sense of security, also created a perfect environment for the sinister events that were about to take place. It was an isolation that would soon turn sinister, swallowing the farm and its inhabitants whole. The darkness that descended upon Hinterkaifeck was not just physical, but also a creeping, insidious evil that would leave a permanent mark on the land and the memories of those who heard the tale. The isolation made the impending tragedy possible. It created a perfect storm of circumstances that allowed a killer to strike without fear of immediate discovery. The remoteness of the farm meant that the Grubers were left to face their fate alone, with no one to hear their cries for help. It muffled the screams, hid the evidence, and allowed a killer to walk free. The isolation that had once been a part of the Grubers' everyday life now became their undoing, as the shadows over Hinterkaifeck grew darker and more menacing with each passing day. Andreas Gruber, the patriarch, was a man of few words. His silence was not one of contemplation, but rather a brooding quiet that filled the air with tension. He was a figure carved out of the harsh landscape, his face weathered by years of toil and hardship, and hard edges. He was known for his temper, a fiery rage that could be sparked by the smallest of provocations. His anger was a storm that left those around him in fear and uncertainty, and stubbornness. His wife, Cecilia, bore the brunt of his harsh nature. She was a woman of quiet strength, enduring his outbursts with a resilience that spoke of years of silent suffering. Her eyes, though often downcast, held a depth of sorrow that words could not convey. Their daughter Victoria, a young widow, lived with them alongside her 2 children. Her presence in the household was a mix of hope and despair, a reminder of both loss and the fragile continuity of life. 7-year-old Cecilia and 2-year-old Joseph. The children, innocent and unaware, played amidst the shadows of their family's troubled past. Their laughter, though rare, was a fleeting glimpse of normalcy in an otherwise somber existence. Life on the farm was hard, the work relentless. From dawn till dusk the family toiled in the fields, their hands calloused and their spirits weary. The land demanded everything from them, leaving little room for joy or leisure. They kept to themselves, rarely venturing into town. The farmhouse, isolated and surrounded by fields, was both their sanctuary and their prison. The walls held their secrets, the silence within them a testament to their solitude. Rumors circulated about Andreas and his daughter. The townspeople, with their curious eyes and wagging tongues, speculated endlessly about the Gruber family. Their isolation only fueled the gossip, making them the subject of many whispered conversations. Whispers of incest and dark secrets followed them like shadows. These rumors, whether based in truth or not, cast a long and dark shadow over the family. The weight of these suspicions added to their already heavy burden. Whether true or not, the rumors added to the family's isolation. The Grubers became more withdrawn, their interactions with the outside world growing increasingly rare. The townspeople's judgmental stares and whispered accusations only deepened their sense of alienation. They were an enigma to the townspeople, their lives a closed book. The Gruber family, with their silent suffering and hidden sorrows, remained a mystery. Their story, shrouded in secrecy and speculation, was one that the townspeople could never fully understand. Something was amiss at Hinterkaifeck in the weeks leading up to the murders. Unexplained events plagued the family. Footsteps in the attic, though no one was up there. A set of house keys vanished, never to be found. Andreas was convinced they had an intruder. He found a strange newspaper in the snow, one no one admitted to buying. He confided in his neighbors, his anxieties growing. But the strange occurrences were dismissed as pranks, the work of bored youths from town. But Andreas wasn't convinced. He felt a growing sense of unease, a creeping dread that something terrible was about to happen. On the evening of March 31st, 1922, the unimaginable came to pass. One by one, the family was lured to their deaths. First Andreas and Kazilia, then Victoria and little Kazilia. They were bludgeoned to death in the barn, their bodies hidden in the hay. The killer then entered the house. 2-year-old Joseph was murdered in his crib. His tiny body lay undiscovered for hours. Finally, the killer reached Maria, the family's maid, who had just arrived that very day. She never even had a chance to unpack. The killer, still unknown, spent 3 full days at the farm after the murders. The killer didn't simply flee after the gruesome act. They remained at Hinterkaifeck. They fed the cattle, ate the family's food, and even slept in their beds. The fire was kept burning. Neighbors noticed smoke rising from the chimney in the following days. It was as if the killer was trying to maintain the illusion of normalcy. Or perhaps they were savoring their horrific act, lingering in the aftermath of their own depravity. Whatever the reason, the killer's presence at the farm after the murders added another layer of chilling mystery to the case. Days turned into nights, and the silence from Hinterkaifeck grew deafening. Neighbors, concerned by the lack of activity, finally decided to investigate. On April 4th, they made a gruesome discovery. The bodies of Andreas, Kazilia, Victoria, and the young Kazilia were found stacked in the barn. Inside the house, Joseph and Maria lay dead in their beds. The scene was horrific, the brutality of the murders sending shockwaves through the small community and beyond. The search for the killer began, but it would prove to be a long and frustrating one. The police were baffled. The murder weapon, a mattock, was found at the scene, but it offered no clues to the killer's identity. There were no signs of forced entry, no witnesses, and no obvious motive. Theories abounded. Some whispered about a robbery gone wrong, though nothing of value seemed to be missing. Others pointed to Andreas's rumored past, suggesting a revenge killing. The investigation dragged on, suspects questioned and dismissed. The lack of concrete evidence and the passage of time made finding the truth nearly impossible. Over a century has passed since the Hinterkaifeck murders. The case remains unsolved, a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk in the shadows. Countless books, documentaries, and amateur investigations have tried to unravel the mystery. New theories continue to emerge, each attempting to shed light on the events of that terrible night. Was it a crime of passion, a robbery gone wrong, or something far more sinister? The truth, lost to time, remains elusive. The Hinterkaifeck Murders stand as a testament to the enduring power of the unknown. The farm itself is long gone, demolished in 1923. The land where it once stood is now an empty field, a silent witness to the horrors that unfolded there. The only marker of its existence is a simple wooden cross, a modest memorial to the lives lost in such a brutal manner. But the memory of the murders lingers on. The eerie silence of the place seems to echo the cries of the victims, a haunting reminder of the past. The old black and white photos of the farm, now faded and worn, tell a story of a time when life was simple, yet shadowed by an unimaginable darkness. Hinterkaifeck has become synonymous with the darkness that can hide in plain sight, a symbol of the evil that can lurk in the most unexpected places. The aerial views of the secluded farm and the dark abandoned farmhouse paint a picture of isolation and foreboding, a place where secrets fester and grow. The evil that can visit even the most isolated corners of the world. The isolated rural roads and the old, creepy farmhouse in a remote location serve as a stark reminder that no place is truly safe from the reach of malevolence. The sense of isolation only amplifies the horror of what happened there. It serves as a stark reminder that some questions may never have answers. The old, weathered newspaper clippings, now brittle with age, recount the gruesome details of the crime, yet leave us with more questions than answers. The empty, desolate farmland stands as a testament to the unresolved mystery that continues to baffle and intrigue. The case continues to fascinate and horrify, drawing the curious and the morbidly fascinated alike. The historical crime scene photos, though grainy and indistinct, capture the chilling reality of the murders. A flickering candle in a dark room symbolizes the fragile hope for answers that may never come, ensuring that the victims and the mystery surrounding their deaths will never be forgotten. The memorial plaque for the victims stands as a solemn reminder of their tragic fate. The old black and white photographs of the victims, frozen in time, evoke a sense of loss and sorrow that transcends the years. The story of Hinterkaifeck is a chilling tale of isolation, brutality, and the unknown. The dark, foggy landscape and the shadowy figure in a rural setting create an atmosphere of dread and mystery. It is a story that continues to captivate and terrify, a reminder of the darkness that can exist in the most unexpected places. It is a story that continues to haunt us, urging us to confront the darkness that exists within ourselves and the world around us. The nighttime shot of a desolate field and the close-up of an old journal with handwritten notes suggest that the answers we seek may be hidden in the shadows, waiting to be uncovered. The story of Hinterkaifeck is not just a tale of murder, but a reflection on the human condition, a mirror to our own fears and the unknown. The dimly lit room with an old photograph and the shadowy figure walking down a deserted road remind us that the past is never truly gone, and the mysteries of Hinterkaifeck will continue to haunt us, urging us to seek the truth, no matter how elusive it may be.